Hey everybody. Woo! Today is the presidential debate, and as you would expect, the mud is slinging, the mud's coming fast, but you know what? They threw it right down my alley, and I'm about to hit a grand slam and expose why this Trump tax thing is so important, because it's going to really expose what you should be doing in the future. If a billionaire like Donald Trump is not paying a lot of taxes, look, that guy was top of his class. Was it Wharton? Did he go to Wharton?
No, that was
no. He went to Wharton. He went to Wharton. That guy is borderline genius. I know people bag on that guy. He knows exactly what he's doing. But more importantly, he comes from a real estate family. And one of the secrets to the American tax code are the tax laws. Today, joining me is my banker buddy, my right arm in Rockstar Capital, Sam Morris.
Hey guys, glad to be here. I know. I was reading something real quick too. It says Bloomberg just put out Biden adds pressure to Trump pre-debate by releasing his own tax returns. I love some of this stuff that's going on because we're going to get to talk about really one of the reasons
that's really near and dear to our heart.
It's one of the reasons we invest in real estate, right? It's all those benefits of actually getting to get some of the tax benefits associated with it. There's so many guys that we've talked to even this year. It's really interesting because they've come to me and go, hey, I absolutely have to have a deal this year because I don't want to pay taxes. Like they literally say, I got to invest into a deal so I don't have to pay taxes.
Have you ever heard of that before? Somebody says, I need to put money into something so I don't have to pay taxes. Yeah. Did you understand what he just said? Put money into something so I don't have to pay taxes. Look, our first mentors were mom and dad. And really, who's Donald Trump's first mentor? Was his daddy. He was a big-time apartment owner in New York. Mm-hmm. There's a great special on Netflix if you get a chance to watch it. It tells you the whole story there of how Donald Trump became. But he learned from his first mentor. My dad worked at Whataburger. You know, what did your dad do?
My dad was in insurance sales.
Yeah, they didn't teach me anything about saving money, making money in real estate. And it's exciting because in college, I have an engineering degree. Sam's not there. Sam's got a heavy accounting, finance, banking, everything kind of degree, management degree. Yeah. You know, so outside of the accountants listening, outside of the finance degrees, you don't know what we're about to talk to you about. You don't understand how you can make money investing in real estate and legally pay as little as you can to Uncle Sam. And I meant legally pay as little as you can. Look, I'm a red-blooded American. I'm going to pay my taxes, but I'm not stupid. I'm going to take advantage of the tax laws as you should. How many investors do we have? How many investors are in our deals?
In our deals, there's over 544 right now.
544 investors know this because they've invested with Rockstar Capital since 2011. Since 2011, I have raised $100 million of investor equity. That's a big number. But you know what's even better? I've returned $100 million of investor equity. And nearly all of that, if not all that, there wasn't any taxes on it. Did you hear that? $100 million we made, our investors and me, in the last 9 years, 100 plus, and we didn't pay a whole lot of taxes on it. The reason, part of the big one was when we buy a deal, we want to invest into the deal. I want to put better management in. I want to find value add opportunities. I'm going to change out the air conditioners. I'm going to change out toilets so I can reduce water consumption, so I can focus on the L on the profit and loss statement. But I also want to increase the value of that deal. So in 3 to 4 years, I've increased the value, I've increased the income, I've lowered expenses, and now I've increased the NOI. When you increase the NOI, Sam, what is the NOI?
On which deal?
On our deal.
Okay. So NOI is actually, it's an acronym. It stands for net operating income. It is effectively the money we make on a deal. And so I'm going to throw this out to you guys. So you guys can ask questions right now. We'll hopefully answer some of them as we go through some of these things that we're going to be talking about. But it's really interesting because we can actually improve the value of the property and actually return a lot of cash to our investors, and they don't have to pay any taxes on it. It is all 100% legal under the U.S. tax code.
Blasphemy.
I know.
Blasphemy that you don't have to pay taxes. We actually do pay taxes.
We do.
But there's a little secret to it.
There's lots of secrets.
I want to tell them, Sam, but I don't know where I should go with this.
Okay, well, there's lots of secrets.
So let's talk about the refinance event.
Okay, sure. So on a refinance event, what you guys have to know is we will do, and we've done 13 of them so far. So we've done 13 of these in our company, and it is 100% legal, and it is 100% cash tax-free to our investors. That's a really big deal. Tax-free to the investors.
Yeah. Did your mom and dad teach you that?
Absolutely not.
My mom and dad didn't teach me that.
Absolutely not.
I tell you what, my kids know that. Do your kids know about the refinance and the tax-free
They do
aspects?
because we're teaching them, right? They get to say it's not about what you make. It's
Now,
about
I'm
what
not
you
your
keep.
mom and dad, but I'm happy to show you why you should be invested in real estate so you can understand, because you need a mentor. Everybody needs a mentor. I had a mentor that showed me how to get into real estate. Now I have another mentor that showed me how to brand a little bit better and how to market. I have other mentors that show me how to become a better operator.
Yeah. And so, like I said, it's not about what you make. It's about what you keep.
Will Rogers said that. No, who said that? Roy Rogers, right?
Roy
Said that.
Rogers?
Yeah, somebody
That
said
one?
that. Somebody said that.
It's an old quote.
It's
an old quote. And so the way that we do that is when we're improving the value, that NOI that we talked about, right? There are lenders out there who are willing to go look at the property and say, wow, you guys have done a great job. When we take them the property and show them how well we've done, they will give us another loan. We pay off our old loan, and the difference, that delta that we have, is it's an amount that we send back to our investors. And what the government does is they look at that as, hey, you guys got loan dollars, even though you distribute them back to your partners, right? They see that as we didn't give them back profits, even though we've earned better with that property. We gave them back loan dollars, which is not a taxable event under the IRS law. And so it comes back to them tax-free.
Did you understand that? You're going to borrow more money than what you had before, pay off the old loan from your acquisition. We just did a big refinance event. A deal we bought in 2016 paid, I don't know, $73,000 a door, $20 million asset, increased the value to $30 million, got it reappraised, borrowed 75% loan to value, took that 75% new loan, paid off the old loan that was used at $20 million in 2016, and that delta, that difference, came back to the investors tax-free. Legally tax-free, because you basically put more debt on it, and we returned $4.5 million about 40 days ago. Wasn't a stimulus check that took care of them during COVID. It was their multifamily investments that took care of them during COVID. Now, Sam, that's an interesting concept, isn't it?
It is.
I got a big check. I was really excited on that deal. My family got a big check because we took the risk in 2016 along with our investors to buy that deal, and we got our cut of that $4.5 million. Did you get that cut? If you weren't in that deal, you didn't get your piece of the pie. But that's something we've done 13 times over and over and over. That's just one way on how you make money on real estate investing. And I'm saving it. I'm teeing it up for Sam, because there's another way to make money on real estate. You got cash flow, right? What happens to that cash flow? Sam, what happens to the cash flow? You got to pay taxes. If you are LeBron James or you're Patrick Mahomes, he just blew it up last night, and he gets a $35-40 million contract, he's going to pay taxes on that.
Absolutely. That's earned income.
And he's going to pay the heaviest tax rate, which is what?
39.6%.
39%, which people say rich people don't pay their fair share of taxes. He's subject to nearly 40% of that $35 million. That's a big hickey.
That's a big number.
That's a big hickey. Now, the bottom rate is what? For the lowest income is around 15?
Well, zero.
Zero,
yeah.
but 12 to 15.
15%.
What's the average middle rate?
So, that's the thing. I haven't looked up, but it's only a small portion of the entire population that actually pays taxes. I mean,
I'll tell you who it is. It's the middle class. And it's the middle class that pays it. What's the middle class rate?
The middle class rate is going to be anywhere in between that 18 to 26% range.
And do you know why the middle class pays they pay the most taxes? Because they're W-2 income, and they don't know the secret that we're about to tell you. They don't know how to pay less at the end of the year when they make that kind of money. LeBron James, Patrick Mahomes, if they have the right kind of people around them, they might know. But you hear a lot about athletes making a ton of money and then going broke in 5, 10, 20 years. There's a lot of train wrecks that have happened, and they didn't have the right financial people. So if they had us and they had invested in their money in apartment deals, they could have wound up paying zero.
Yeah.
So a little bit about how that works.
So guys, there's a lot of different things that you can do. One of the things that we do right when we acquire a property, which I actually spoke to our cost seg guy today, so it's kind of funny.
Define it for them.
So we engage a company that does what they call a cost segregation study. The easiest way I can explain that is we have accountants that come out and they count every doorknob, every appliance, every piece of equipment and things that are in the apartment complexes that we're purchasing, including the building itself. And they find what are assets that you can depreciate. It's a fancy word for saying they figure out what the useful life of that asset is. In real estate, there's a rule that says you're allowed to depreciate your asset over 27 and a half years.
And this is unique to the American tax code. Sam, I'm sorry to jump in there,
That's
but
right.
because I used to have a foreign business partner, he said it did not exist in England.
I'm not familiar with
He
with
said
European tax laws.
depreciation does not exist in England, and it was one of the prime reasons he moved from England to the United States to take advantage of the American tax code, the same tax code that Donald Trump is taking advantage of, but also the same tax code that you watching can take advantage of, the same tax code that everybody in Congress, including the Senate, including Biden, can take advantage of.
Mhm.
The same people that are hitting him hard on why his tax returns look interesting and questionable and why it's a trigger button today are taking advantage of this, but they're letting Donald Trump be the one to take the fall.
I guess so. If you would call it a fall, right? I
No,
call
he's
it
rocking to
great
the bank.
business, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I call it great business. If
You can't be a big Billy, you can't be a BBB unless you know how to make money and keep your money.
That's right.
How's he making it? How's he making it?
So when we engage this cost segregation that I talked to you about, they go out there and they figure out, they put all these different assets that we purchased in different buckets, including assets that we put into the property, like when we do our rehabs or we're improving the property so that we can do the things to increase that income.
Improvements like air conditions.
Sure.
We do always, air conditions are a day one item for us. We always believe that, you know, if the key to making money in real estate is renewals. And the number one way to get your people to renew is to make sure that everything works in their apartment, all basic services. That's our bread and butter business model. We will replace everything that can fail during that time of ownership. That means the air condition has to be 72 degrees in their apartment in Houston, Texas, when it's 99. And that's almost throughout the year. We don't really have winters. We just have one season, and it just kind of gets a little warmer, cooler. But we have one season here in Houston, and that AC is a requirement here in Houston. So we do that, but that's something that can be appreciated.
Absolutely. Depreciated.
I'm sorry, excuse me, what did I say? Depreciated.
Depreciated. It's appreciated by the
I
tenants,
appreciate,
but it's depreciated in the U.S. tax code.
yes.
Right. And so what they do is they mix that up into different buckets. Right. And so there's part of the tax law that's called bonus depreciation that allows us to effectively depreciate a large portion of those assets in the very first year that we own the property. You want to explain what that does?
I was reading our text, man. We got a lot of shout outs
Oh,
today.
yeah.
Shout out to Brandon saying, hey, he wants to know how we found equity in our first deal. Let's talk
Okay.
about that. Michael Glover, a buddy of mine,
Oh,
I just
man.
met him at a big conference. He says, I love that you guys are talking about this. You got my boy Ronnie came up here last week to visit us at
Oh, yeah,
Rockstar
Ronnie.
Capital.
Good to see
What's
you,
up,
Ronnie.
Robert and Sam? And of course, our guy Michael Ballard
Oh, yeah.
saying, hey, you got to share more information. No better info than this. Ask me the question again.
All right. So when we push this thing called bonus depreciation,
Oh, yeah.
perfectly legal by
Yeah,
the tax
yeah.
code, we push a lot of those assets to be depreciated in the first year of ownership. And what does that do to our property? What does that do to our finances associated with that property?
Well, you pass it on this way. See, it's all about passing the buck. Depreciation allows me to pass it on to this income stream, Sam. What income stream is that? That's cash flow.
That's absolutely.
That's our cash flow.
One of the
See, I'm
great
not very
things-
good at riddles, but I understand what I do every single day. I was given 4 riddles this weekend. I got none of them. I was really, really upset. And I'm a really smart guy, I like to think, but I'm not good at riddles. But I'm really good at when somebody explains something to me and it makes sense, I copy it over and over again.
Yeah.
I understand how to move money that I owe in taxes from this bucket to this bucket over here, which is my cash flow, which is what we do every day. Rent minus expenses equals NOI. NOI equal down after you pay all your debt service, after you pay taxes and insurance, after you pay everybody that you got to pay, is your cash flow. I want to pay as little as I can on that cash flow.
That's
My
right.
depreciation allows me to move it and show a loss. You
Yep.
brought it. That's the big point tonight. They're going to say Donald Trump is a bad businessman. They're going to say his company showed losses. Donald Trump is a billionaire, everybody. Now, why is he a recognized billionaire? Now, he says it's 4 billion. Somebody says it's 10 billion. Somebody says it's 1 billion. I don't know. He still has a B. And that's all I care about is that he's got a B.
That's
But
right.
you don't get a B just because.
That's
His
true.
dad didn't have a B. You all saw that story that I saw. His dad didn't have a B. He was really smart. He knew how to make money, but his dad did not have $1 billion. He did not become a billionaire. The reason why Donald Trump is a billionaire today is that he understands the American tax code like a lot of other smart real estate people. He's just the only one running for president. And that's why it's becoming highlighted today,
Yeah.
right now.
So let me explain a little bit more of how that looks, right? So from a practical standpoint, because a lot of our investors will actually ask this.
They're excited. They understand. They're making money with us.
And they know that. They sit there like, hey, we're making money. It's great. And so why would the individual that came to me and says, hey, I don't want to pay taxes this year. I need to invest a certain dollar amount.
We always get them around October, November.
They do.
So we have a deal closing in 30 days. I think we're just about full in equity, though. I'm not sure,
Almost.
But we might not. If you're interested, go to rockstarcapital.com. If you're an accredited investor, hit the Invest Now tab and check it out. Check out the investment opportunity. Where's my boy? My boy in there, he was asking me about it. Glover, hey, man, I know you want to invest. There's a deal right there. We have just a small little smidgen of room, or I'll make room for you. But you want to get your money working. Sam, tell me why you want to get that money working before the end of the year.
Yeah, so here's where this really gets interesting, right? So this guy comes in, he goes, hey, I'm going to have to I know I'm going to have to invest somewhere in the tune of, let's say, $300,000 because he doesn't want to pay a lot of money in taxes, right? This individual is a full-time real estate professional, right? And so he knows that he can actually offset from his income, right, losses associated with whatever he invests in, right? And he knows we do bonus depreciation. So he knows how much money he can show as a loss based upon the numbers that we get in our cost segregations, right? And so what he does is he says, I know I'm going to need to invest this certain dollar amount, which is going to grow, and I'm going to have an investment in it. But in the very first year I have it, it's going to provide me a tax loss that I'm going to use to offset my income, right? So that I'm not going to have to pay taxes associated with that money. And there's a couple different ways to do this. Most of the people will invest and they'll utilize that loss to offset any other passive gains that they have, right? So their passive income that they're making will have passive losses associated with it, and they're not going to have to pay money on that passive income. Those that are full-time real estate professionals, they get a little bit better bucket when they're looking at this because they get to offset any earned income associated with it. This particular individual is a full-time real estate professional, and he wants to be able to offset his earned income off of his tax return so that he's not going to have to pay any taxes at all.
So let me tell you how this works here. The average American probably uses something like TurboTax, where they do their own accounting, or they do their own tax prep. With taxes were extended the other day, and so people got their returns in late legally. But on TurboTax, it actually does ask you, are you in a partnership? Are you invested in real estate? Because even TurboTax is smart enough to figure out that if you have a K1, which I'll let Sam explain what a K1 is, then you will show your ownership in a piece of real estate. It'll have a lot of key pieces in it, but most importantly, it's got your percent ownership and what you made. Now, if you're with one of our deals, you're making 8 to 10% return, and you're going to show a profit. But it's not going to show a profit on your K1. It's going to show a negative number. It's going to show a loss, and you're like, well, I didn't get a loss. I got distributed. I got quarterly checks every single quarter, just like Robert and Sam said at Rockstar Capital. Why does it show a loss? It shows a loss because we engage tax professionals. We engage, I'm sorry, not tax professionals. We engage sophisticated tax professionals. My very first CPA was a middle class CPA. And he had no idea on how to help me reduce my taxes. It wasn't until I got involved in real estate when he recognized to me, he goes, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how you do this. In fact, I could not qualify for my second house because I didn't have true W-2 income. I had losses. I looked like I was bleeding, but yet I had money in the bank. I had Jack in the bank. It was sitting there right there. I'm like, well, here's my bank account. Why can't I qualify for this? Remember this conversation?
Yeah. So talking about CPAs, and then my son just said, hi, Caleb.
What's up, Caleb?
And then Ashley asked about CPAs specifically, right? She said, how do you go about finding a CPA you can trust?
Let's get there. Let me just finish this real quick.
Okay.
So you've got to find a CPA that understands real estate taxes, real estate law. Just ask them. The average middle-class CPA doesn't see real estate investments. They don't see K1s. So their business
they're qualified TurboTax.
They're qualified to TurboTax. Many of them will rent out a retail space, just like those guys at Halloween. They rent out the retail space for 2 months, and they sell to you all the jack-o'-lantern outfits. And not this year because those guys are out of business. But the CPAs are still renting out those tax people, tax professionals. You'll see that says, do your taxes now. You come in, you zip it out in 15 minutes. They're not going to be able to help you with what I'm about to talk to you. You got to find a qualified CPA. You ask them the very important question. Do you have clients that own real estate? And that's going to be your answer. And if they say no, say, see you later. Let me tell you the other thing too. You cannot get what we're talking about paying 99 bucks, 59 bucks for your tax prep fee. I pay thousands of dollars for my personal tax prep, but I save tens, if not hundreds of thousands on my taxes because I have a qualified CPA who knows what they're doing. And so you get what you pay for is the old adage, right? 100% true. If you want value, you're going to have to pay for value. You want to drive by some road and see somebody with a Liberty costume, they're saying, come on inside and come on in and let's get your taxes done in 15 minutes and you get your refund in 48 hours. I normally don't get my taxes until October. And that's on a normal year because I have to have a qualified CPA who knows how to read my tax, my K1 partnership, which I need to talk about K1s, and he needs time, and it costs me for it. But I save tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on taxes that I may normally own. Tell them what a K1 is.
Sorry, so K1, when you make an investment into a private entity, right? A private entity, they're going to typically issue you a K1. All of our real estate is owned by what they call SPEs, single purpose entities, right? So we own each of our properties through a single asset entity, right, that owns the real estate. And we do that for several reasons. But what happens with that entity is that entity breaks up all the ownership for everybody involved and issues a K1, right, which is it's effectively the tax document that shows you everything that we made and everything that we lost for the year, right, that goes to your individual tax account. And so an accountant would be able to look at that and go, okay, you have an investment. I'm going to put this into your tax return and show whether you had gains or losses associated with it. Okay. What Donald Trump did, right, is he had a whole bunch of these, right, and he was able to, because he was a full-time real estate professional, utilize any of those losses to offset any and all the income that he had from anything he invested in. And so when everybody was talking about, oh my goodness, he's only paid $750 in taxes one year, I guarantee you Donald Trump was probably upset that he had to pay that because I'm sure he had a good accountant and he was able to find a way that he shouldn't have had to pay anything because of the losses associated with the properties and the entities that he owns.
Yeah, because if he's a billionaire, he must own billions because Donald Trump does not own 100% of all the real estate. He owns a percentage of it. Look, somebody's asking, well, explain to me a little bit more. I'm still not getting it. Here's another example. If you go to church and you tithe like a good parishioner, right, you're going to receive a statement at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. And that statement is your contribution, your tithe to your church. You take that number, you give it to your CPA, and he's like, yeah, okay, this actually reduces your tax base. So Sam, if I make $100,000 a year and I gave 10% of my income away, I tithed it to the church, and I get a report from the church, which if you're in a good church, you're getting a document, hopefully quarterly, right? That's something to you pretty regularly. It tells you your year-to-date contributions, your year-to-date donations. Let's say it's $10,000, 10% tithing. You take that $10,000 and you apply it to your CPA, and you go to your $100,000 income. It reduces your tax liability. You have to pay taxes on $100,000, and there's a little guide in the tax chart that tells you will owe X. When you do that charitable donation, it reduces it from $10,000 to $90,000. Now you go to the guide and it says you owe this much, but you've been paying taxes on this $100,000 all year long in the form of your payroll taxes, right? And your FICA taxes and all the other little crazy numbers on your payroll that you don't know what they mean. Then you figure out the end if you owe or you get a refund. I can tell you, I've been doing real estate for 13 years and I've gotten a refund every single year for 13 years. It's the benefit of tax of the depreciation event. Depreciation is the exact same thing. We are going to do a cost segregation study by a true tax professional. They're going to come in, as Sam says, evaluate everything, create a value of everything, depreciate it was it a 135?
Yeah, but it's an aggressive. We do a
Very
bonus.
aggressive.
We do a bonus
There you
depreciation
go.
in year one.
So you show all these losses, lots of losses, because you're buying multi-million-dollar piece of asset, right? You get to own a share of that if you're with Rockstar Capital. You get to invest in that. We got one right now that we're just about to close funding. You would get your K1, shows that negative, just like you would bring your tie statement to your CPA or even a TurboTax. You bring it over there and you will reduce. Instead of reducing it by $10,000, if I made a $100,000 investment in this current offering we have, what would it look like? More or less, ballpark.
If you made a $100,000 investment,
What would the year one losses look like?
and the year one losses, what we've typically have had over the last maybe 3 or 4 deals we've done when we've done our bonus depreciation, they've shown us losses anywhere between, for a $100,000 investor, anywhere between, call it between $70,000 and $80,000. It's a big loss for year one.
That should be a mic drop. I looked at you with crazy eyes because you should have been looking at me like, what did he just say? Sam, if you put $100,000 in a multifamily investment, what is my loss in year one?
Anywhere between 70 and 80,000 for the last few deals that we've done.
So remember the example I gave to you with tithing? It went from 100,000 down to 90,000 because you made a $10,000 difference, a $10,000 tithe donation to your church, and you check the schedule and you owe this much, so you get like a little refund at the end. What if you could take your $100,000, let's say that you made per year? Typically, you have a $100,000 contribution. You're probably making a little bit more than that. But let's say it's $100,000. Sam just said, through our bonus depreciation on our cost segregation study, you can reduce your taxes by $70,000 to $80,000. So now I'm going to go to the little schedule, and I'm going to go from 100 where I owed. I'm going to go down and subtract 70, and I'm going to go to where it says what you owe if you make $30,000 a year. That's a significantly less number, isn't it? If you've done your taxes, you know what I'm talking about. There's X amount if you owe 100. There's X amount if you owe 30,000 in taxable wages.
Yeah,
we just reduce your taxable wages.
And for those that are full-time real estate professionals, that's what they can get on these types of deals.
So you now have been overpaying all year long. All year long, you've been overpaying and letting the government have your money. Why is Trump waiting for his tax return to be processed, Sam?
He's under audit all the time.
He's under audit because, like, man, how can a guy like that make so much money? At this point, Donald Trump's laughing at the audits because he knows he employs the best CPAs money can buy. And remember, just like the best attorneys, they understand the law, they understand the legal law, and they understand the tax law. The tax law allows you to depreciate your assets and reduce your tax obligation. If he didn't own real estate, he would own this much. Because he owns real estate, he owes this much. Now, I'm not going to have a political debate here, but if you have an opportunity to pay less in taxes legally, would you take it? It's an easy question to me. I'm here to provide for my family. I'm here to provide for my investors. And as Sam said before, I don't care if you make $1 million a year. It's about what you keep. Mm-hmm. Many of you all have W-2 incomes. They say you have a salary of $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 a year, but what are you really taking home? In the real estate world, if you're a real estate professional, you're taking home what you make. And if there's any left over, you can apply it towards maybe a spouse's income, a couple's income, if one of you is a real estate professional, and you can offset their income.
That's big too. That's actually really big too. So we do.
Now, Melania doesn't work, I don't think, but he doesn't need that. He's offsetting his own income.
Actually, I think she's actually really wealthy too.
I don't know.
She was a supermodel for like a long time.
Oh, you know what? She does have some money.
She was a supermodel for a long time.
I'm just focusing on the billionaire. I'm focusing on the billionaire. You cannot be a billionaire supermodel, but you can be a billionaire real estate investor. Now, let me tell you something that Sam knows is because I say it all the time. There have been more millionaires minted from real estate investing than any other profession that I'm aware of. And a big part of that is because they get to keep what they make. I was not a millionaire when I first got started in real estate. I am now several times over because of my ability to invest in that 13 years ago. And I worked really hard to that, okay? I worked really hard. I walked away from my W-2 job. I sat in that chair. I learned it every single day. I learned how to lease. I learned how to understand the rent ready, the make ready process. I understood delinquency. I got lied to by the residents. and I got really good at it. And I realized I started putting every single dollar of my joint income, and I put it in there, and I got the taxes back. Then every couple of years, 3 years, we were doing a big refinance event where I put, let's say, $100,000, $200,000 in my first deal. 3 years later, back then we were buying deals really cheap. I actually got all my money back, and I did that over and over and over again. We have an investor, Luis Becerra.
Oh yeah, Luis.
He was a casualty of the Great Recession, not the Great Scamdemic, the Great Recession, not the what's going on now. This is nothing. Great Recession, when actually people were dying, people were jumping out of windows, people were giving their money back. There literally were no jobs to be found, not because the people were at home and they don't want to work, because there were no jobs to be found. He put $100,000 of his money into our very first investment.
His last $100.
Oh, sorry, excuse me. His last $100,000 into that very first investment in 2010 with Rockstar Capital. Today is 2020. It's 10 years later. He's turned that $100,000 into $1.7 million in his IRA account. And he did that because, well, he overcame fear, number one. He did it because he liked the guys. He believed the story that somebody was sharing. He also liked that I was signing on the notes. And he liked that I was putting my own $200,000, which is my kids' money, which means if I'm signing on the note, my kids are signing on the note with me. It's their heads on the chopping block. But he trusted us. 2-3 years later, we did a big refinance event, got a new loan, increased the value, got a new loan, paid up the old loan, took that money. What do you do with that money? Here you go. Get right back to me. Guess what? We did it again. 2 years later, another opportunity, another bite of the apple. Pulled a bunch of equity out of this deal, kind of like pulling equity out of your home. Same concept. New debt pays off old debt. Difference, you get to keep tax-free. He did it again. That worked for him on the first 3 deals where we actually refinanced those deals twice back in 2010, 2011, 2012, and 2012. Today, he owns 9 different apartment deals with that original $100,000, and it's worth $1.7 million.
And he gets about $75,000 a year, $90,000 a year in cash flow.
And he has a ton of depreciation write-offs that one day he'll recognize.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Sam, I don't want anybody to get mistaken. Do we owe taxes?
Eventually, yes.
Do you hear that? The big capital E. Eventually. Actually, there's another word I want you to use. And another word that you know I want you to memorize. It's called defer.
Defer, defer, defer.
Defer, defer, defer. You will owe taxes because one day you won't own real estate. And there's nothing else to write off. So you're going to have to recapture that depreciation. But I'm not going to worry about it because I'm going to defer, defer, defer. I'm going to move all that money into another deal. And when I sell that deal, I'm going to move it into another deal. And I'm going to sell it into another deal. And I'm never going to worry about it because I expect I'll own real estate the rest of my life. And that's an important piece, the rest of my life. That means I could buy that deal in 2010, hold it for the next however many years I got in this world, and never pay a dime of taxes against it. I legally own it, but I'm allowed to defer it and defer it and defer it. And when Donald Trump's tax returns, if they are ever come to surface, which by the way is illegal what they did, they should not be allowed to show. That is confidential, private to you. Somebody talked, somebody should go to jail because that is not cool. But it will show that he's been kicking the can down the road, kicking the can down the road, kicking the can down the road for a very long time and keeping those profits. Now, don't hate the player, hate the game. You heard that expression? It's 100% true. You need to understand you can do this too. Everybody that's attacking him can do this too. And in fact, they are doing it. I guarantee you, where do you think those taxes were written? They were written in Congress. And it wasn't the Democrats that passed it. It wasn't the Republicans that passed it. They all passed it.
Yeah, they all did. Which is kind of interesting too, because one of the questions we got.
And we're blowing up with questions.
I know. One of them was, it's kind of funny because no politician who's always said, hey, everybody needs to pay more taxes has ever voluntarily given more taxes. And every politician.
Say that again.
No politician who's ever said we need to pay more taxes has voluntarily given more taxes. They will do everything they can to pay as little in taxes as they can as possible.
Look, I'm patriotic as the next guy, and I want to pay my taxes. I'm going to pay what I legally have, what I legally need to pay. Mm-hmm. But I'm also going to take care of my family, and I'm going to take advantage because that's what they put me here for. I'm here to provide for them. I'm here to provide for myself. So I will pay what I need to pay. But if there's a way to write it off, we heard of write-offs. That's all it is a write-off. If I can write it off, I'm going to write it off. You can't write off your gambling losses, but you can write off real estate. I don't gamble. And when I do, it's just a few $100s just to kind of pass time for an hour and a half. I don't ever go crazy because it would take too much for me to get the blood going. And I don't think I have the stress to do it.
Well, it's kind of interesting too, because, we talk about, paying more in taxes, because that's actually a really big thing. A lot of politicians are telling, everybody's got to pay more. We got to, we need more money for this. And, there's a term called you spend like you're in Congress, right? There's a reason that there's a term for that. Everybody's going to want to keep their money because individually you should be able to handle your money a heck of a lot better than Congress would at this point. And I would tell you that's why people are going to do whatever they can to hold on to as much of their money, because if we give it to Congress, they're going to spend it like they're in Congress, and that money goes really quick. That's why they always need more money.
Congress, the government is the worst at balancing their budget.
And that goes Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter what you are. They all are horrible.
It's been like that forever. Why do you think we have trillions of dollars in debt? It's why. Now, can you have trillions of dollars in debt? I hope one day I have trillions of dollars in debt, in apartment debt. Because every one of those apartment deals is one day of freedom, is another stream of income that I don't have to rely on somebody else. But the government having trillions of dollars of debt, you having trillions of dollars of personal debt, doesn't work. You go under. I remember one time Donald Trump back in the 1980s, I think when he was having his major issues, right? Too big to fail. I remember he was with his wife at the time. I forgot which one it was. I think it was the second wife. And there was a homeless man on the street. And he said to him,
he said, that guy's wealthier than me.
That guy's wealthier than I am. And what he meant is that he had negative and he had losses. Isn't that pretty funny? He said that. That guy's got less than I do. Which on paper,
more than I do.
Yeah, the guy, he had more than I do. That's right. Which on paper was probably true because Donald Trump owed so much in real estate loans. He had depreciation losses. But today he's a billionaire. Not only is he a billionaire, he's the president of the United States. Mm-hmm. Like him or hate him, you got to admire that he rebuilt himself a couple of times because, he had some issues. He got a little speculative on some things that he did. But he built himself back. He built himself back taking advantage of the American tax code. I want you to take advantage of the American tax code. I want you to get involved in real estate. My mom and dad, or God bless them, I love them to death, for a long time, they didn't want to invest. I don't know why. I don't understand it. And maybe I didn't push it hard enough because I was really worried about having my mom and dad's money. But finally I said, you know what, Mom and Dad, I need you to be in this next deal with me. It's a great deal. I want you to benefit with me. And it's a deal that we bought in 2015. My dad passed away a year later. They put pretty much their life savings. My dad had, at its high, he had about 700,000 in the stock market. And it was during 2007, 2008, and he thought he was rolling. He thought he was 2-3 years away from retirement, and he was going to have $1 million plus. He was going to kick back with my mom, and he was going to retire. Well, that didn't happen. The Great Depression happened. And that million or 700,000 and growing, I was like, wow, watching it went away. Literally went away almost overnight, right? Remember those crashes? Remember those wild red swings? It was tragic. I think the stock market was at 8,000-9,000 at the time. I remember going as low as 4 and change, and he had about 400,000 left. And he was so scared. He was scared the rest of his life. This was, again, this is 07, 08, 09, that for the next several years, he never got back in the market because he recognized the market's a gamble. The stock market, you don't know what you're investing in. You don't know what world event's going to happen. You go to bed tonight being up $700,000. You wake up tomorrow and there's a world catastrophe, and your nest egg has gone to $400,000 from a high of 700 and change. And that's what happened to my dad, and it scared him to death. He was a very risk averse kind of guy, very cautious. That's why it took him until 2015 to finally invest in me. And I remember sitting down with him at my kitchen table, like, Dad, we're going to do this, and we got a plan for you, and what have you. And, he passed away. He passed away because of the stock market. Didn't give him a chance to retire. Maybe had he retired, maybe things would have gone different for him. Maybe he would have caught that he wasn't feeling right, that there were issues going on. He wouldn't have been always worried about his W-2 income, always worried about growing his restaurants that he managed for somebody else. Maybe he would have found the health care that he had, but he didn't. He kept doing what he was taught. He kept going to work every single day, and he was the only thing he knew was the stock market. And he didn't know the stock market. He just was told that your company gave a 401k match. Your company gave you this. They wanted you to keep doing it with them, and he didn't invest in anything for those years. Had he chosen real estate with me, he would have retired very, very early. And maybe during those years, he could have enjoyed his last years. Very fortunate for my mom that because she did invest with me, that $400,000 today is worth somewhere between 1.3 and 1.5 million.
And she gets cash flow off of it.
My mom is a millionaire today because of one single investment she made with me in 2015. It's crazy. You think about that. You know, my dad passed away a couple years later. We had some other income that came in, insurance benefits, what have you. And she's invested in a couple other deals. I don't even look at those deals. I don't even know. Well, I don't even think about, right, like how much equity she has in it. She's probably got more, obviously, right? I didn't ever thought about it.
She got a new car recently. So.
Yeah.
she's doing all right.
But what I really think about is that $400,000 that's worth 1.3, 1.4 million. And she's a millionaire today, and she just has a college education. She actually quit school early on and went back and got her GED, and so she's proof that you can do this. You just got to find the right opportunity. I went to school, got good grades like everybody else. I have an engineering degree from Texas A&M because I was told to do that because my mom and dad told me. They were my mentors. And I didn't discover real estate until I joined a real estate club. I paid $10,000 back in 2007, and I got educated. And that opened up the world I live in today. I hope this webinar and this podcast, podcast, I think we're going to be podcasting it, has maybe opened your world into how you can get wealthy doing real estate. Donald Trump's living proof, man. He's a billionaire 3, 4, 5 times over. He's president of the United States. He would not be president of the United States today if he didn't own real estate. And that's 100% true. That got him the money he needed to facilitate his campaign, the money he needed to have the life that he did. And tonight he's on the debate stage, which is going to be like the popcorn moment. I'm going to be eating popcorn tonight. This is going to be amazing tonight, right? But he got there because of real estate. My life has changed because of real estate. And the investors that we've invested with, their lives have changed. My mom's not the only millionaire I've minted. I'd like to know how many millionaires the Texas Lotto has minted, because I think I'm going to give them a run for their money. I've minted a lot of millionaires who invested with me over the last 10 years. Sam's a millionaire. He doesn't like to talk about his money, but he is. He's got a little cash put away. He's got like 5 kids. I don't know how many kids. How many kids you got?
Plenty.
Right? He's always talking about adding more kids. You need that though. You see how we're laughing, that we're having a good time? Because we're investing in real estate. And our real estate takes care of us. What survived? You're so scared. Let me ask you this question. What survived COVID? Netflix and Amazon, right? You know what else survived COVID? What else survived COVID? Apartments. Because where do you watch your Netflix? You need 4 walls and a roof, right? Where do you have your Amazon packages delivered? At the same place where you got 4 walls and a roof. You need to eat. You need to sleep. And if you got gold and ammo and guns, whatever, you got to have something to protect it, right? You need 4 walls and a roof. Take care of your family. Figure out what you need to do, what nobody showed you. Learn from people who maybe are where you want to be. Find that mentor. And I'm going to tell you right now, my first mentors didn't show me anything about real estate. Donald Trump's first mentors did. My kids now know, and they will own real estate the rest of their life. I hope you get a chance to invest in real estate. And if you want to give us a chance, if you want to consider investing with us, hey, go to rockstarcapital.com, go to that Invest Now button, check out our latest offering. And if that one, we might be full. I think we're 98% full on that one. But get in the next one. Put your money to work and let it sit there. The best time to invest in real estate was yesterday. So get your money working today so that tomorrow becomes yesterday, and you can get one of those big checks that we passed out. Last year we did $12 million between investor cash flow and distributions. This year, even with COVID, I think we're going to get really close to it. Next year is going to be a banner year because everything's starting to open up. Please, 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 for your family, figure out the real estate game. Get education. We have education, and you can go to Apartment Rockstar Academy. So you can go to apartmentrockstaracademy.com. You can go to our website. You can look at our educational courses. You can get the training you need, or you can just invest with me. I'll take care of it. I promise you. I've been doing it with over, what'd you say, 500 investors?
544.
544 investors. I've raised $100 million since 2011, and I've returned $100 million in 2011, since 2011. And I did that understanding the tax law. So, Sam, any final words?
Well, I would just leave you with this. I mean, before we go and enjoy the big debate tonight, a lot of people were wondering this tax return issue being just some kind of hot button issue. Even Money Magazine put out a little article today. It said Donald Trump's tax returns have many people wondering what they're doing wrong. And so, from an educational standpoint, like what Robert's telling you is, there's a lot of things you can go out there and educate yourself with. And that's why we offer these things to really just educate you guys and let you know there are a lot of other ways to make money in this world. And there are some people like Donald Trump who have figured it out, that it's not necessarily about what you make, it's about what you keep. And he's figured out how to do that very well. And so enjoy the debate tonight and understand that there's a lot of ways to make money out there.
And to all of you out there, you can do it. I got 4 young 20-somethings in this room right now that are in our Rockstar studios that are paying attention, and I see them coming up. Their heads are popping up when they hear a certain hot point, and they're thinking, "How do I get involved?" They're learning. They're figuring out. They're learning something today that maybe they had not been told by their mentors and their mentor. I take that responsibility very seriously here at Rockstar Capital. I don't think they'll ever leave me because I think they understand the value and where this company is going. And I think they understand that the closer they are to the center here, they're probably going to get into real estate one day. Whether it's single family investing, whether they're able to jump up into multifamily investing later on. But find you a mentor, pay attention to what they're doing, watch what they're doing, and ask questions. And again, if you have a chance to get involved with real estate investing, whether it's single family or multifamily with someone like me, please join. Hey, I hope this is a great one. If you enjoyed this, we are normally available on Mondays. We have Multifamily Monday where we're here to answer your questions, get your real estate game started. We took a little day off yesterday, had some things come up, but we saved it for today, and I think we knocked it out of the park. I think we hit a grand slam. We might have hit 2 grand slams tonight, maybe even 3. You learned a lot today that I don't think you guys knew, and it was a lot of fun to be that guy to share with you. Pay attention to Donald Trump tonight. Enjoy it. Enjoy the debate. Go out and vote. Express your opinion, and enjoy life. Catch you later.